Guys, I'll just open it up for questions. I think we've got to own our base defense. I think we've got to feel comfortable that no matter what an offense comes out with, right, if it's something that we've repped and prepared for, or even if it's something that it's not, that our base can handle that, and that we can make negative plays out of base. We can rush and affect the quarterback out of base, right, that we can hold up in coverage out of base. And I think that comes with players taking ownership. I think that comes with coaches really getting into the details and working to teach so that it's not just a passing of information. It's just that we're learning our learners, and they're really they're learning the defense. They're understanding where their help is. They're understanding, I can play aggressive here because someone's got my back, or I can play to this shade of a defender or an offender because someone's got this other shade. All those things come into play. When you keep things simple, it can be sophisticated. So you can be an artist now in that craft. You could take ownership of it. And maybe, this style, this base defense was played this way a certain year. Well, now because of our players' emergence, it's now played your way, right? And all of that's cool, and that's what it should be. And I think we establish a base defense where it takes on those characteristics. Now you can build a change-up off of it. But I think the base is important. And I think the varying offenses that we see, we want to be able to be us and worry about us before we're worrying about them. Integral. Yeah, integral. I think, when you're in 3-4 structure, okay, when you have 5 guys on the line of scrimmage, right, they have to double team him, which means that once that occurs, linebackers are really now running backs, and so they're playing to daylight, and so there's gap control, but we're playing it from a level further back, and so we can get more hats to the ball now. It can be this way, okay, and then also in pass protection, right, if they're going to block 5 for 5, they're giving him a one-on-one, which, I think this was all brought to great attention last year with West Virginia. I thought they did a great job of it, where if they presented you a 5-man front and you blocked them 5-0, a lot of people struggled with their nose. And then once you slid the protection, which is what people are going to do, and a lot of coaches are going to take that approach because I know when the nickel rushes, I know when this jack rushes, and this and that. Right? But then if you're wrong, you get a guy on a back, or you get a guy on a free angle to the quarterback because the back doesn't see him and he's out. And so I think those are things that you can dictate, right, with just playing base and being simple and taking ownership of it. Yep. Yeah, I think the simple defense allows the players to be aggressive. I think the opposite of simple would be complicated, and a more complicated defense is going to slow down players. And so, I think as you pull back, and I'd say the same for offense too. It's a players game, right? So players play the game, and so is it about coaches or is it about players? And so, for the coaches to make the game about the players, right, and to develop them and give them the confidence, right, to identify and do a job to the best of their ability, I think that's where the game is at its purest, and that's what the game's about. And so I think per our earlier discussion, when you are getting into change-ups and you're getting into curveballs, right, if your base can be a fastball and that thing can hum at high 90s and all of it, then there's batters now that are going to have to be sitting on fastballs. And now as they're sitting on it, now here comes a curve, right? Or here comes a changeup, whatever that off-speed pitch that you choose. And so I think you create your repertoire with having a base and doing something well. And then off of that same look, right? Making it look the same but have something different. And those would be the pressures and the creepers and everything else. I think it's a good thing. I was never really a fan of that drill. I think the takeaways from that drill was always more of a mentality and more of almost a we're not tough, we're going to make you tough type of thing. And I think that's very elementary. I think people can get hurt with that type of mindset. I think there's better ways of addressing it. Yes. Yes. I think it's a real positive. I think we had one of our early days of summer workouts where it's player-led and players are out there and by position groups. And I remember looking over at the O-line thinking, man, there are more guys than I remember at any point last year being between the O-line and the D-line combined, right? And so I think when I look at that as a reflection of competition, right, of guys that can push each other. I think for us, O-line wise, and this is speaking as level as I can, is that we're coming from last year where it was like we need to run the ball, right? How are we going to do